I like big books and I cannot lie. You other readers can't deny. I feel like that is the most fitting usage of that whiplash sound to date. Fits with the song, and hopefully I don't get copywritten because that was such a perfect rendition. I'm sure that they're gonna say, whoa, that's the original. I'm sure of it. Anyway, hi guys, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about big books. If you couldn't tell from that stunning intro, I feel like there's a lot of discourse about short books, small books that you can read in a day, and I've definitely partaken in that conversation. But today I want to talk about big books. I've been reading a lot of bigger books lately, and I've really been enjoying my time with those pages. So I wanted to illuminate and talk about some novels that are big but don't really feel that scary and daunting to me. So what makes a big book? I would say a big book is 500 plus pages, though there are a lot of different elements that go into those 500 pages. You could have a book that has very big words, some big margins, and a lot of dialogue which take up the page. So for me it would be if it's like a true 500 pager, or I do have one book on here that's like 450 but the text is incredibly small, so I'm going to consider that a big book. Okay. You also have a lot of the classics. You have Dickens, you have Jane Austen, you have your Tolstoy, you have all of those big guns, big boys, big guns. I don't have those on this list because you know what? I haven't read them, okay? I'm gonna start with the first book, the newest addition to my big books, and a classic that I love, an American classic. I would definitely add this to my new list of favorite books of all time. I read this in my Patreon book club, so if you wanna join, link down below per usual. We read a lot of great books, and I don't think there's been a bad one yet. So, to add to that momentum, we have A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith. This is coming in at roughly, my edition, 491 pages. I quite literally wrote, cried, perfect book at the end of that. As you can see, it's not really that big of text. There is quite a bit of dialogue, but this really isn't that scary of a read once you break it down into the different sections. So this follows a young girl growing up in Brooklyn in the early 1900s, and basically it's a bildungsroman of her life, of the people that made her who she is, of the morals that she established within herself when she was young, the work ethic, and the power of education, where education can take you. This is such a great book. Really a great book. There's nothing overwhelming about this. There's nothing that feels like you're stuck in the pages and you can't move past a certain point. You want to keep reading. Smith is really brilliant in introducing characters that might just kind of come in, just a little walk-on character, but add something so important to the overall book and theme and the magic of it, honestly. I am so happy that I read this book. This does not feel like it's 500 pages. This is something that I really didn't want it to end. Sometimes when I'm reading a book, especially a big book, I get to those last couple of chapters and I'm speeding through, okay? I'm speeding because I just want to get to the finish line. It's a marathon. And this was a happy little triathlon. I wanted to keep on adding events to it. I loved this, loved this, loved this. I cried. I felt so many emotions, and I think that this was overall a cherished novel for a reason. Okay, now it's time to talk about it, I guess. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm wearing glasses today. Yes, I am. I don't need prescription glasses, but I do wear blue light glasses, and I do wear glasses when I want to feel fabulous in a video, and that is why I'm so happy to be partnering with Pair Eyewear on today's video. Pair Eyewear is revolutionizing the way that we wear eyewear with convertible, modular, and stackable lenses that can take you from day to night to different characters in your atmosphere. I am wearing the Finley glasses in black, but I have chosen as my add-ons the white when I feel like looking like I own a gallery, the chocolate for when I just want to look like an autumn day, cute autumn day, and I have tortoise for when I want to look just a little bit more elevated than I usually do. They have a very easy to use online platform, and what was kind of fun is they have a virtual try-on aspect where you can turn on your camera and you can have your face put on glasses. You can just see what you look like with the glasses on. That's what helped me choose my frame. You can also add prescriptions, very, very easy to use. You just upload it onto the portal and they're able to kind of size and fit whatever works for you. And you can just order easy blue light glasses. So for me, I know that I have a couple of different options when I want to kind of dress up an outfit or if I'm going to be editing all day, because I spend long hours. If you want to talk about long, I spend long hours editing. So thank you so much again to Pair Eyewear for sponsoring today's video. And if you want to have a pair of Pair Eyewear glasses, you can with my code AnnaWallace15 for 15% off your first pair of Pair Eyewear. That's really fun to say, actually. Okay, so let's keep talking about books, why don't we? The next long book that I want to talk about, and arguably one of the books that helped me get into reading long books, and it's a book that I suggest to a lot of people to get into long books, is 1Q84 by Murakami. This big boy is coming in at, my edition at least, is 1,156 pages. My understanding is that there are 3 different books that you can buy together if you don't want to have the entire mass of the story in one. For me, I just wanted the book on its own so that I could carry it around and people could say, wow, you're really doing it, aren't you? And I can say, somebody has to. So this book is kind of notorious, I feel like at this point. It's Murakami's magnum opus. It is the biggest book in his writing library, and I found this to be kind of a weird reading experience, honestly, because it's so huge and a lot of it is character building and a lot of it is finding out about who these characters are. Not so much happens, but I could not break away from this. I was reading over 100 pages a day when I was reading this, and it really was magical. This follows 2 people in Japan, and they are kind of, they meet by like divine intervention, right? It's this very kind of strange girl and this very straight-laced guy, and they end up having this fantastical journey together, and a lot of it feels like it's dictated by the moon and the atmosphere, and it's kind of hard to describe. I would say that the whole feeling of reading this is much more of a vibe. Truly a vibe. I read this way before I started my YouTube channel, and I feel like this was a major catalyst for me in wanting to dissect and talk about books in an online way, because I really felt like the amount of time that I spent with this book and in this book and within these characters made me experience reading in an entirely different way. And I've given this book to a friend since. He read it incredibly fast, like myself. So I think that this is a great way to get into reading long books. Though this is the longest book on the list, it's very, very, very easy to consume. I stand by that. All right, so the next book that we're going to talk about is a book that honestly means a lot to me. It means a lot to the little girl inside of me, means a lot to the teenager within me, and means a lot to the foundation of who I am. The World According to Garp by John Irving. Now, I have a lot of history with John Irving. Where I grew up, from upstate New York, it's very close to Vermont, very close to where John Irving resides right now. I mean, you can see Vermont right there, baby, right there. His whole world of characters means a lot to me. I've read a lot of his books. Also, I've read Widow for 1 Year. I've read In One Piece. Does that make sense? I'll correct myself, I'm sure. But he has a lot of these really, really long books. I would say that any of Irving's writing is very good to get into long form. He also has the Cider House Rules, which is incredibly famous and long. He has A Prayer for Owen Meany, which is very, very long as well. But The World According to Garp is a fun, long story. It's kind of stories within stories. Basically, it's telling the story of Garp and his relationship with his mother, and this very bohemian and eccentric lifestyle that they lead, and the people that they meet along the way. I was an usher for Williamstown Theater Festival, and they were doing a month in the country, funnily enough, with Jeremy Strong, before he was the Jeremy Strong that we know and love today. And I saw the show so many times that I finally took this book with me and read it every time I would sit for the 3-hour show. So I have associations with a lot of different mediums of entertainment with this book. I'm gonna reread this book very shortly. I feel like this is a great fall book, and I want to get more into reading books that made me happy as a young adult. So, love it. That stack is getting big. Now, I want to talk about a book that its reputation precedes it. Its online presence precedes it. Its demented value precedes it. But if you want to read a long book and have sustained attention throughout, this book will do it for you. It's a Little Life. It really, really is a very fast, long book to read. This book comes in at a little over 800 pages. God, everybody knows this book, right? This follows 4 college classmates. One of them has this incredibly demented and sad past, and it's following the trajectory of the 4 boys as they grow up, mature, and watching how their relationships evolve and intersect. That's just the very PG version of it. As I've matured and as I've grown as a reader in the past couple of years, I don't know how I feel about this book now. I just put this on this list because I read it so fast. This feels as dense as it is, but you move through this. If you're into this book, you move. All of Yanagihara's work is long. I've read The People in the Trees. Wow. Which is kind of shorter than this. I would say it's like 400 something pages. She also has In Paradise or To Paradise, which I don't think I will read, but that is also a behemoth of a novel. This, again, if you can fathom what's going on in it, a book that is really quite, pacing-wise, quite easy to read. All right, now let's talk about 2 classics, and a book that might be a little bit difficult to put into the category of long books, but I'm putting it in, and books that I won't shut up about, so yeah, I'm putting them in. White Teeth by Zadie Smith. This one comes in at 450 pages almost, but that's some pretty small writing, and it took me, I don't know, like a week or 2 to read this book. I'm just putting it on here because it's long enough to establish a fantastic story, interweaving stories of family and history, and I think it's long, but it's so consumable, and I don't know, I just want to talk about this book. I love this book, and I love Zadie Smith so much, and I think that she's a fantastic writer, and even if she wrote the dictionary, I'm sure that I would be hypnotized by it. Hypnotized. And the last book, do I have to say it? Do I have to talk about it? Do I need to say it? I'm sure you can guess it, but if not, if you're new, this is my favorite book of all time, East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Truly his magnum opus. This is a foundational text of American literature. It's coming in at almost 600 pages. Every page is delicious in characterization, in understanding why people do what they do, and it's just a monumental piece of work. I love this. I love John Steinbeck. I think he's so brilliant, and the way that he crafts these characters, good and evil, some of the most notable characters in American literature. This is it. This is such a great book. I had a lot of downtime when I was in California in 2022, and I just remember being near my friend's fireplace in their house, sitting, or not sitting, girl, I was laying down and reading this, and I wanted to take my time with this. But at the same time, my body, the momentum that I was feeling while reading this was so strong that I just couldn't put it down. If you love American history, if you love American old kind of westerns, this is a book for you. And if you just want great writing, this is a book for you. There you have it. Those are some really not that scary big books with great stories that you can read and love and maybe not even want to put down. If you do want to put them down, just remember, these can be a weapon, and you can also use it as a seat in dire situations. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I enjoyed making it. Hopefully I can add more longer books to my collection because I'm on that long big book rhythm, babe. I can't help myself. You guys are wonderful. You're fabulous. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you